This is Harley Hartwell, and you're listening to the Case Closed Podcast.
So I would much rather act, and so I just seek out. I'm seeking out again now things that just keep me going creatively, and that can hopefully reach a larger audience and reach some people and connect and entertain and who knows where it'll lead.
Well, and that's the thing. Hopefully, really good things come of it. Can
Exactly.
you talk about some of the classes? Because I know based on what you said before that you take acting classes.
Yeah, this year I'm started taking some and they're usually just short, like like this last one I took was 6 weeks. It was 2 hours every Saturday morning online. If you don't mind, I'll give her a quick plug because I really enjoyed her energy and boy, has this girl researched the heck out of how to explain coaching and voice acting. And I just want to make sure I spell her name right because it's a little different, I think. So her name is Rachel Messer, which is, I guess, Twitter is at Rachel, which is spelled RACHAELMESSER. She does a great voiceover boot camp online. I go to Jack Plotnick's acting classes out here, which is great because it's free to watch, which is a rare thing out here. A lot of acting coaches, you can't get into class unless you pay for it. You can go to his class to watch for free. It's $30 to get one-on-one time with him, but to be able to watch a class, just go in for free, that's, I learned so much just from watching and listening to him work, and what I love about Jack too, this is the most amazing thing to me because what other acting coach would do this? He's written an acting book, which is kind of a combination of an acting book and as well as kind of a self-help book, because we actors, we're tortured artists, as I'm sure D-Wall can understand as well with the writing, but he's written this amazing book that just touches on your own human spirituality, whatever, and then just human condition, as well as acting ideas. And you can download it for free off his website. He doesn't charge for it.
Oh, wow.
Because if you look at his resume, he works all the time. So that's is a true example of an actor. Just, Kevin Spacey, I think, is a great quote. He has a master class you can order online now. But his quote was, if you've been successful in this business, it's your job to send the elevator back down to get someone else up. And I think that when I heard that, I immediately thought of Jack Plotnick because here's this guy who, and he'll admit he's not teaching anything new, but he just collected it in a way that is very understandable and relatable and presented in this full-length book, which you just download off his website. No charge. And because he believes in the art and us being as creative individuals, which I just love. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing some acting workshops for me, it's not so much exposure to new ideas and techniques. Just for me, it's reminding what I already know and just haven't, put into practice in the last couple of years, which has been really, really kind of nice for me to say, oh, you know what? I remember I spent a semester learning this in grad school. I know this. I just kind of forgot it for a while. I got a little lazy and too comfortable. So and as artists, that's what I've rediscovered is you kind of have to reinvent yourself sometimes. And it's not necessarily, a complete reinvention. It's just reminding, these ideas, these techniques, what works for you and doesn't work for you. I would guess, D-Wall that, you as writers, I've never been much of a writer. I consciously would like to be a better writer, but everyone writes differently. We get inspiration from different places and maybe sometimes we just forget that. And then also just listening, I think, listening to inspiration. I was so excited. One of my favorite singers is a guy named Blaze Bayley, who sang for Iron Maiden for a couple years back in the 90s. And he does solo work now. And he does crowdfunding for his album. And I threw in $150, and one of the perks was to get to do Skype calls with him during the production of the album. So one night on Facebook, I see a post from him saying, "Hey guys, I'm just signing DVDs if anybody wants to hang out on Skype." And I'm like, "Yes, please, I want to talk to you." And so we had a really fascinating conversation about creativity and listening to inspiration wherever that comes from. I'm not a religious person, but I'm a big believer in the power of the universe and that, the whole law of attraction thing. But for him, it's like he even wrote a song about it that I didn't realize is when you get inspiration, listen to it, write it down. Like he says, I keep a notepad by my bed that if I wake up in the middle of the night with the lyric idea or a melody, I write it down immediately. For me, this is just me, myself, and I, philosophy-wise, the universe is going to always give me, it's giving us what we need to achieve our dreams and our goals. I just have to listen and pick up on it and grab that opportunity. And as an artist, especially, whatever art form that is for anybody, I think, the moment you have that inspiration, don't waste it, because, I've woken up from a dream or something. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a great story. I'll write it down later. And then an hour later, like, I have no idea what that dream was about. Got it, and I can't even remember. See, this is my problem. I go on tangents. I don't know why I got on that. But yeah, there's my philosophy on art. How about that? That sounds good.
And it's good advice for anybody out there that, wants to, be an artist or aspires to do anything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I, if I can just add that as a thought comes to my head now, because, I think arts in this country are not as supported. I mean, the college I taught at back in 2009, the semester after I left, or 2 semesters after I left, they completely canceled. I mean, again, this was a small college, so that was definitely a factor, but they canceled the theater program and the music program completely. And I think that's happening a lot in the world of arts and education, and and doing that because more money has to be spent in other areas. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but more money I think is spent on sports rather than the arts. And I find that very limiting because not everybody is going to be an athlete. Like I will never be a football player,
Yeah.
But almost everybody, and I say that with all the love because I don't want, because there are those with, some physical things going on, but almost everybody can hold a pencil, can hold a crayon, or everybody can write a word, a poem, or be inspired to write a short story, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, but that's creativity out of us that is so much more open to other people, to the rest of us, I should say, maybe. And to have that stifled, I think is just a terrible, terrible thing. I mean, I had a great friend who's a good friend today that I met in my freshman year in undergrad as a theater student. But he dropped out because I believe it was his mom who said, I will pay for college if you study anything else. But if you do theater, I'm not going to pay for college.
Wow.
Because they didn't see it as, you're never going to make money in that. And he's got he's got a family now, and he works for a big credit card company, and he's got a very nice job. But I tell you, I think he would have been an amazing technical director. I think I would have, to this day, I would love to see what set designs he would have come up, or lighting design. I feel extremely lucky where I've got parents. My parents to this day support me as trying to, as in my goals of being an artist, and I am so very thankful of that every single day. My mom, of course, will say we have no idea where this acting thing came from, but I truly believe I personally have a special gift in parents who, in fact, I remember my mom was a little worried that I was going into college to study theater. High school, that's fine, but she was a little worried that I was going to college to study theater, but then I remember when she came to see me do Antigone, and I played Creon, and this was in I think my junior year. And after the show, she came up to me and she goes, "Kevin, keep going, keep going."
Wow.
And that was huge for me. To get that, I think from a parent is to be inspired like that was amazing. And to this, so I mean, what I do now, yes, is for me, but I mean, my goal is to make sure that my parents get to see me in a big project that I'm passionate about, whether it be TV or film or a video game, anime, anything. I mean, I'm inspired every day by my parents to continue to do the best I can. And I'd lost that a little bit in the last couple of years, which is why now I'm going back to some classes. I'm seeking out more ways to audition, and not being sucked into Netflix half the time, with the day job, and getting to a point where I don't have to worry about having a day job because I'm doing enough creativity in acting and getting paid for it. So if it's my advice is, if you feel a creative vein in you, whether it's part-time, full-time, try not to suppress it. Enjoy it. Let it come out. There's a great book called The Artist's Way, which I'm studying right now, which talks about people who have stifled their creativity or who thought they would never be a writer. For years, I thought I'm never going to be a writer. I mean, I love reading books and plays, and then I try and sit down to write something. I'm like, I have no idea where this stuff comes from. But I think that there is creativity in all of us, and it's just a matter of letting it out, and not saying, oh, it's bad. The first thing we do is always going to be bad. Maybe I'll share some of my auditions from my first times doing all this stuff, because boy, howdy, are they bad. But that's how you get better, and that's how you get inspired. So, just keep creating, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing for people to hear. And by the way, you're not the only one noticing theater programs that aren't around or they're going away.
Yeah.
I dated someone recently who has she's in theater and she sings and she's a teacher. She does a lot of things on the side.
Sure.
And she was helping out as I think it was an internship, was helping a local junior high.
Sure.
Do a play, and I for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of the play. I went to see it. It was very, very good. And I was talking to her about it, and she said, there wasn't a theater program before I got here.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, what? You're kidding, That's crazy, and it's not like it's, it's in an area where you would expect plenty of funding to be available for it and everything like that.
Oh, not at all.
No. And there wasn't. And it was just like.
No, there's no money at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, if I recall correctly, even at my undergrad, which was a small college in San Antonio, it's the University of the Incarnate Word. But I think, and this may have changed, but at the time I remember, I think I was the last person to get the largest scholarship they gave, which was $5,000.
Wow.
And I think that they had funding cut after that, I think. And so, yeah, no, it's really sad, I think. And I'm not saying this as a critique or as a negative thing, but it's just a matter of fact that right now, I mean, I'm hoping that in generations to come it will change, but sports are what attract people, and that's where a lot of money is made. I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy now about college football, where colleges are making tons of money off these student athletes who aren't paid anything. I mean, yes, they're given a scholarship, but beyond that, they're not getting paid, from the millions that these schools are making. But we don't see that in theater. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I was invited to go to a high school. They're doing an arts recital over 3 days. Like the first day was dance, and then the second day, an anime fan was in the singing group, and she asked me to come to the school and watch it, and it was fantastic, and I loved it. But out of all the, it was a little auditorium. I'd say maybe about a third of the seats were filled, and then beyond that was just emptiness.
Wow.
Which made me sad. That that, because it's hurtful as an audience member to say, there's nobody here to see this amazing music and singing. They were doing show tunes and then some religious numbers, and it was just phenomenal to hear these voices, and but to see it so underappreciated, I won't say unappreciated, but underappreciated, was a little heartbreaking, so.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and here's the thing: I think people that are in that moment don't really know is that, in your experience, acting has led to, or theater acting, not just theater acting, but it leads into so many other avenues down the road if you want to do that.
Oh, absolutely. But then also on top of that, it gives you other skills, public speaking skills, talking in theater specifically, public speaking skills, how to work with teams. There's so many other aspects that, I mean, like from my personal experience, I was the quiet nerd when I started high school in my freshman year. I didn't talk to anybody. I was the kid who, I'd forgotten this particular moment in my life. They had given me the wrong combination to my locker, and I was too scared to go to the office. So for 2 weeks, I carried all my textbooks in 2 book bags around me every day, until it got to the point where I was like, this really hurts. So I went down, and they said, oh, yeah, we just gave you the wrong number. It's fixed now. But then getting into theater changed my life. It completely opened me up. I became much more vocal and finding out. I mean, high school for everybody is, kind of that awkward stage where you begin to find out who you are as a person. And, I don't think if I had not gotten into theater that, I would have found this route that I've taken in my life now and be much more a confident person, So just in that in itself, because I remember I didn't even audition for the first show. I was too scared. But then one of the kids had to be taken out because he was failing a class. And so they asked me to step in, and it was a musical that I had to sing in. And I was terrified. But it turned out to be an absolute blast. And then 4 years later, I was voted most talented in my school, so there's, and again, arts compared to sports, there's such a small number of people because of the physicality that you need for sports, that you almost have to have, compared to every other area of the arts where you pick up a pencil or a crayon, or you write a poem, or you sing a song, or you do a dance, I mean, that it's open to so many more people. And, one of the mottos at Nerd Strong, and one of the reasons why Andrew Deutsch created it, is he didn't want it to be a gym where people go, especially those who identify as geeks and nerds, who don't want to go to a regular gym where they feel they're in competition with other people. That's one of not the rule, but the idea is we are a collaborative and supportive gym. You don't compete with other people. We're there to support you. And I think that's, in contrast to the sports arena where you are competing against someone else to be better, compared to in the arts where we're working together to create something that will touch an audience member, that will make them smile, make them cry, make them pissed off, whatever reaction, but it's a connection with those around us. And I think I said before, I love acting, or I'm rediscovering my love of acting in the last year now. But I do and doing theater again after a break. Theater is where you truly are in a physical space where you connect with someone with a story that will speak to them in whatever way it does. And there's nothing like that kind of energy. And I don't think you get that from sports, that, you root for your team. Yes. But you hate the other team and and you hate their fans, and they're wearing the wrong colors or whatever, So
yeah.
Compared to that collaborative, when you go to a theater show or you go to a movie, you're going with a group of people, and in that moment you are friends. You are enjoying something together, and that could change your life, that could, inspire you to do something different, something, scary or fun, any of that. And to me, that's what is really amazing with the arts.
Yeah, and something I'd point out too is all these things that you do, these are things you can put on a resume,
Oh, sure.
for jobs too, for real
Oh,
jobs.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can, yeah, public speaking and published writer or, all that stuff, because I think, people do seek out those who are creative in the workplace and take initiative and can think creatively. I mean, that's very different than, like, well, I have this one idea compared to like, well, I've got this other idea or this idea or this idea,
Yeah,
whatever that.
or I did this, or what I tell people is, if you did something with another company, list it in your resume and use that. Say, hey, for this company, I helped them put this project together, or I worked on this, and make sure it's detailed and documented and put there. That way, the situation you come into, you're allowed to be creative because you've shown that you can do it before.
Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
helps so much. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And then it just shapes you, I think, into a much better person, because the arts is such an expression of ourselves, and whether that be someone who feels they know who they are, compared to, or like me in high school, finding out who I am, that I enjoy storytelling, or it's a great, which is what I love about the artist's way. It's about discovering and rediscovering the artist within you. Like one of the challenging things is one of the things you commit to. It's a 3 month, 12-week program, if you will, and you have to do, have to do. But one of the things is you write. It's called the artist pages. You write 3 pages. The first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you write 3 pages of anything. I mean, just let it spill out of your brain onto the paper. Whatever clutter it is that's in our head that we wake up with, just spit it out. I mean, there's been days where I've written 3 pages of, I don't want to write today. I don't want to write today. I mean, just over and over and over again, to where I write about something that pissed me off the day before, but it's the art is a way to also just connect with ourselves. And like for me personally, I've got no problem now saying I'm 42 and I'm kind of rediscovering who I am as an artist, and trying new ways of finding what other creative things are inside me. Like I've had a book that my teacher in undergrad told me to buy, and I've bought every updated version that's come out since then, called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. Have I opened that book yet? No, but but today, I mean, I've set aside time today where I'm going to spend an hour and do the first project, and seeing what kind of things, I'd like to become a better artist in other areas. And it can be scary to find, to find out what's inside, but it also may be a definite release of who knows what.
would you say working in your booth at home is kind of like a better way to focus, since you're, for lack of a better term, kind of in a box where you're right there and you're like, I guess movement isn't like you can't just move around, get up and walk around a whole lot.
Oh, sure, sure. Not so much creatively. I mean, the booth was more of a technical necessity for higher quality, technical sound quality. But it does, I mean, opportunity-wise, it allows me now to, as I said before, I can do auditions much quicker, and being able to find projects like an audiobooks, like I'm checking out every other day on a website to audition called ACX, I think I talked about last time. But being more creative in the booth, not necessarily. It still gets hot, so I have to stop and take breaks. But it does allow me to take the time to find other projects and auditions. And I mean, some of the stuff I'll pick, I know I'll never get cast. I'm so wrong for it. I can just feel it, but I get to do it just to see what it sounds like, and that's kind of fun. I'll mess around sometimes, but no, it's right now I'm really trying to see what I can find that, I guess you could say it's almost like finding my voice again as a human being. I mean, as philosophical, and thought-provoking as that attempts to be, It's really redefining from myself what art is and what do I want to say as a human being, and of course, kind of get paid for it.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely.
But yeah. So there's my soapbox for the day. See, I should remind you guys. Give me a start talking, I won't shut up.
I mean, for me, I appreciate it, quite honestly, because I mean, I appreciate the in-depth, look into it. I mean, I really
Yeah.
do. Um,
Cool.
from
Well,
like
the other thing is that not a lot of voice actors have time to kind of go that in depth with the what their experiences are and what they're going through, and things that they're doing to get better.
Sure.
Like, sometimes you don't get that experience very often, so it's kind of and it seems kind of bad to say this, but it seems kind of rare that you get that. I mean, some voice actors do that. Some have that time, or some have that, that personal connection with fans to where they want to do stuff like that. But you don't see it very often these days.
Yeah. I mean, I don't keep in touch with a lot of other actors personally, but yeah. I mean, I'm lucky where I have a day job that I have some flexibility, and so I feel very, very lucky, and I love talking about it. I mean, it was so important for me to hear from other artists, other artists and teachers, and then taking that inspiration and information, and then, like I said, even now, again, just reapplying it to myself. So after all that spiel, do art. That's the simple message, and find, if find classes. Like there's a website. I'm guessing it's nationwide, called, I think it's called Verlocal, VERLOCAL, where I signed up to get the little newsletter, and they just got little classes that pop up, like a Photoshop class or a drawing class or a photography class. Take the time, take an evening and try something.
Yeah, and I'll even say now it's not on the same. I guess it's a little on the same level. I took, for example, a little time away from school for a good example, just trying to figure out what do I want to do when I go back in, because I had done IT and all that before, and
Right.
It took some actual working to understand. Well, I want to actually be a business major, but I took just a class or two here or there to see if I would like it. But the same could be said for acting as well. Even if you don't know, if it's something you're slightly interested in, pursue it. Just to see,
try it out.
Just because in my experience, it was really good, and for your experience, to this day, it's really good because you continue to do classes.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit to growing as a person, because I had a professor who used this, and I love referencing it now. He said, think of yourself as a brand.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
You're building your brand every time you do something the right way, or you're ethical, or you're building yourself up. And that one quote has really stuck with me the whole time.
I think that's the new way of saying build your reputation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, before reputation, now, and when you say brand, I mean, it's hard not to recognize that, yes, there is a business aspect to that, a commercial aspect, but that's, in today's world, it's a necessity, almost. But yeah, if you build a solid brand, you're going to be remembered.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you stay true to yourself, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, I mean, I've met kids who they want to get into voice acting because they want to be famous. And I think if you make that your mentality, you're going to spend a long time trying to be famous.
Yeah.
And it'll most likely never happen. But if you commit yourself to doing good work and, being good to work with, the success is almost inevitable. And you commit yourself to being a producer of things, if you commit yourself to the art form, like like when I started at Funimation, it wasn't because I wanted to get into anime. I didn't, like I said before, I didn't realize that I had been watching it before Saturday mornings when I was a kid. It was an acting job, and I just wanted to do a good acting job, and learn how to do ADR, and be with very patient directors who said, okay, there's the acting aspect, technical aspects, but my commitment was to doing a good job. I remember being asked one time, do you listen to the Japanese actors, as a reference to do the character? And only one time in an audition was I asked to do that, because the Japanese producers were specifically looking for what's called a voice match. They wanted someone who matched the voice in tone and delivery of the original Japanese actor. But for me, I don't. I'm not here to mimic someone else's performance. I mean, the Japanese actors didn't mimic someone before them. So my commitment, unless I'm specifically asked to, obviously, my commitment is to the character and to the storyline, and it's done all the time, especially in theater. I mean, we see the same, how many different ways have Shakespeare been done? You said it in space. I mean, there's the Klingon Hamlet. They published the script of the Klingon Hamlet. It's different interpretations of, but it's keeping the storyline and character and commitment to their life. Why are we watching this moment in time of these characters and stories? Why is this important? Now, that is no disrespect to any other performers, but my job is to create a character that fits the story with the director, and to respect another performance that is obviously loved, but that's not my job.
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because I was talking about that girl I've dated for a time. She and I finally remember the name of the play, and I can't believe it slipped my mind. It was Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, of course, yes.
And I asked her, I said, so did you did you go ahead and just use a script that was already written, and just distribute that? And she goes, oh no, I wrote the whole thing like from scratch, and
sure,
had to choreograph all the scenes, and and when was the music going to play, and then what were we going to do, in what order we were going to do it. And I was blown away, because I just assumed, oh, well, that's, there's got to be a script for it already, and because it's been done a million times,
Oh, yeah.
And, but no, and I was very impressed with with the whole thing of doing it from scratch, and how much work actually went into it. Now, luckily, unlike the performance you went to for the play that you went to see, luckily there was a lot of people that went and saw that play.
Fantastic.
So I'm very glad, and I think it's unfortunate, when a crowd doesn't show up, because I think it discourages a lot of people that want to be in it.
Of course, yeah. I mean, and there's even a rule in theater. Unwritten rule, I guess. And at least I live by it. I won't say anybody else does, but we used to say that if there are more members in the cast than in the audience, you cancel the show.
Yeah.
So you need those. I remember I stage managed a show that had two actors. just a tiny little show with two an actor and an actress. And one night, it was strange because they sold out their 6 weeks run in San Antonio, because both actors were from Dallas. Sold out their first 6 week run. And so we did a whole back by popular demand. We brought them back 2 months later, couldn't sell a ticket to save our life. And one night there were just two people. It was a date night for this couple, and they were there by themselves, and they said, you know what, you don't have to do the show just for us. Let's just go to the bar around the corner and have a drink together. So
yeah.
It's but it is discouraging, when you don't have people, and that's who knows what elements, whether it's advertising or it's just something that people aren't interested in, who knows. But yeah, it can be very disheartening when nobody shows up, and there we are.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and that's where I think a lot of people, instead of pursuing pushing it, I think a lot of people pull the plug right away, and
oh yeah, yeah. That's where you have to. Especially in acting. 99% of this game is rejection, whether it be an audience member or not getting a part, and you have to just keep trusting and striving. Like, I'll tell people, no problem. I mean, I spent 4 years at Funimation, and I auditioned for, I think it was 36 lead roles in 4 years. I got one.
Yeah.
But I kept on, because I still was generously given characters that I could, whether they were, one episode, things, or a couple episodes that were just that were still fun to sink my teeth into, and then, the same thing with theater, that I'm kind of lucky where I don't have to do everything that, gets thrown at me, but, I'm getting asked to do things, and I can say yes or no. And because I want to do things that challenge me, that speak to me, that inspire me, and then hopefully will inspire other people to come see us, But then going back to the brand, that's where you have to advertise. You've got to, the power of the hashtag, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing there's the Hollywood Fringe Festival coming up, and I'm doing a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and because there's I don't know how many shows are going on in this 3-week period. There's tons of theater shows going on, and it's all about hashtagging out, and advertising, the theater company, and making sure people come, and offering half-price tickets, and all those elements, all the business elements of the brand of this theater company that you have to make, because again, with the internet, and everything, it's so much easier to advertise, and you get overwhelmed with all that's coming at you, and having to wade through it and pick things out that people want to go to. There is only so many audience members you can get now, so it's a challenge, but you learn as you go, and that's what I'm definitely trying to do right now.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear you're getting back into the voice acting world. Obviously,
yes,
it's big. Would you ever say that, based on mail you would get, or comments from fans that really enjoyed your work, does that ever, kind of inspire you to do new stuff, or does it make you think more, or anything like that?
Oh, strokes the ego. You kidding me?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, I mean that's the best compliment. I think any kind of critique, you can take as you want, but to be told that that you did a good job, of course, and that makes me want to be able to continue doing a good job for people to enjoy the storytelling that I'm a part of, and that that I did a good acting job. I mean, I remember even one time, I forget what episode it was of Full Metal, but I had found a comment, and again, this is absolutely no disrespect to the original voice actors in Japan, but someone had said that an episode with Fury in it, that to them, in their own humble opinion, that I did better than the original voice actor, and of course that's always something nice to hear. But to get, like I said, last year I got an email from a mother of an autistic boy who was a huge fan of Full Metal, and really liked Fury, because he loved the dog that Fury saves. So just that, and so I mean, and I probably do things that, I mean, I wish that celebrities had done when I was younger. So I mean, I'll do voice recordings for, if I get a letter like that I'll and I'll send to them, just to hopefully put a smile on their face. Like, I got an email one time from a gentleman, was a college guy, who had said that a friend of his had been a huge support, that she had been there through some just difficult times for him. And he even said, they said, this is a long shot, but would you maybe write a little note, or something, because you play her favorite character of all time or something. And I did a recording. I said, sure, and I did Fury, saying, hi, your friend so-and-so said that you were a huge help, and I've been told to award you the rank of sergeant, and where's Black Hayate? And I just sent that off. And then I got an email from her saying that she loved it, and her friends were making fun of her because she kept playing it over and over, and I just, to be able to bring that kind of reaction to people, that people love my work. Sure, I want to do better work and more work for them, I want them to get as excited as I am about doing something, like I'm kind of pushing out more that I'm Vladimir in League of Legends, with the cheesy lines, and and being able to do, like, I was asked to do a happy birthday note as Vladimir, saying a cheesy And I just love doing stuff like that, but it means I've connected with somebody, that if I did great work, great. I want to do more great work.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing is, the first time we requested the interview, you're very easy to get in touch with. I mean,
Sure,
through your website and email and everything like that. So now Twitter. So that's, and I'm sure we appreciate it, and I know a lot of people appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. It's fun. And I love doing so. I love connecting with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we always appreciate it. For a long time, starting the podcast, I thought, I don't know if I'll ever get anybody from the show to come talk about their experiences. And for me, it's awesome to be able to have that, through the show. Because, I've sent, some requests off, and it's like, well, I know how busy people are and everything, so I don't know. But I'm just glad that you're willing to come on and talk about these things.
Absolutely, sure, anytime. I'm building my brand, if you will.
Absolutely, and
Right.
it's a way for us to promote. By the way, the part one of the interview we had, it's almost up to 2,000 views on YouTube, which for us is really good.
Oh, fantastic!
So I'm really happy that people are really like, oh my gosh, Kevin Connolly's on. We got to listen.
Great! Oh, that's awesome, fantastic. I'm very excited for that thing.
And this is maybe I should have asked this earlier on in the show, but if you could give a piece of advice, for our fandom, for example.
Sure.
Eventually we'll have to get around to, casting somebody to play Harley in the fandom. What advice would you give the person that, is casted as Harley, for example?
Wow. Harley to me is, really for me was keying in on his confidence, as I mentioned earlier, is, because it's that classic thing of where, a villain doesn't know he's a villain. The villain just thinks he's doing something great for himself and those around him, right? A villain never says, most villains don't say, I'm evil and bad. Like Darth Vader, great villain, but he thinks he's doing the best for the Empire, right? And the Emperor. So Harley, not saying he's a villain, but saying to him, he's confident. He knows he does a good job. He knows his stuff, right? That's what, and it comes across to me a little arrogant, a little cocky. There are definitely some lines of dialogue that like, okay, come on, dude, you're kind of being a douchebag. But he just knows he's good at his job. So find the confidence in him. And that's really, for me, what at the core was Harley. Or is Harley, I should say, and keep that confidence going, and then passion, that's for anybody. I think, passionate about what they do, and Harley loves figuring stuff out, just like Conan does. But he's that cocky teenager because of that confidence, because he knows how smart he is, and I think if you really kind of key in on that. And especially with how the dialogue is written, then that attitude will come out, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Yeah,
and I think that's important for anybody to hear that auditions for that role. That it's when we, for example, when we casted Jimmy Kudo, man. I was so picky on the voice until, it was just, to me, it was a great fit. You know what I mean? And,
sure.
And, it's the same way. And the funny thing is, in our fan dub, I think we're the first iteration of a dub, I guess you could say, that has Conan cast by somebody who's not a girl.
Oh, wow.
And man, the criticism I received in the beginning from that decision was unbelievable. And the voice does a very good job. It's just not a girl, so I think a lot of people are like, "Well, what's going on with that?"
Sure.
And man, you could never predict those kinds of things. But
oh no, absolutely not. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important for anybody that plays a character to have that attitude, the attitude that the character portrays, in episodes. And
yeah.
Harley, we're up to episode 815 now. I think Harley was just in a 2-part episode a few weeks ago, if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to watching it since he's in it. But he's always had the same attitude, and is definitely the guy that throws himself in harm's way still.
Exactly. And, one of the things I'm just remembering now, I took a great class with Tony Oliver about getting out of your head, which is something I do a lot as an actor, and finding and just remembering and understanding, that it's really finding the emotional connection to the character. Emotion drives everything. I remember I used to collect autographs when I was a kid, writing off to celebrities, and I remember my favorite one that I still have is from Danny Glover, who took a year and a half to get, but his agent sent a very nice letter saying, "Mr. Connolly, we apologize this took so long, but Mr. Glover insists on hand signing every autograph request." But he wrote on his on his great photo of him in a tux. I mean, talk about a classy actor right there. He wrote, "Kevin, there are 2 emotions, love and fear. Best wishes, Danny Glover." And that has stuck with me for a long time. Now, I may have forgotten, to keep that in my mind, but it really kind of reinvigorated with Tony's class, that, we do things based on emotions in moments, because emotions come and go. But they are, in every single moment, they're a driving force. And again, just in recent years, that's been a really big thing that I'm reconnecting with. But with Harley, I say he's cocky, but you can't just play cocky. That's not something that's playable as an actor. That's just a result of something deeper. But that is the confidence, the love of solving crimes, the fear of not being able to solve it. That's where passion comes out of. And I think if you zone in on that in any character, that's going to be where real creation and a very real 3-dimensional character will come to life.
Yeah, and I think in acting, with the characters you play, I think that's something that you have to live by to be successful and to be cast. I think it's always important that when you bring up the fact that you auditioned for 36 lead roles and got 1 lead role. Yeah. I think people have to hear that because people have, I think, a lot of unrealistic expectations when it comes to that sometimes.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. I mean, I've heard, people say that they're going to move to a place, for example, I'm going to move to Dallas and I'm going to call Funimation and they're going to cast me in my first big role and then I'm going to be famous. It's like, no. When I was there, again, this was years ago, I haven't been there many years, but like when I was directing and I said, okay, well, what do I do? How do I call people in? And they said, well, we have this catalog of, I think at the time was 300 on-call actors. So there are already 300 people in front of you who have lived there and worked there already. It's the thing about voiceover in general. I mean, this is an extremely competitive business. It's an even better example. My first year with my voiceover agent, I got 120 auditions in my first year. I booked 2.
Wow.
Now, thankfully they were pretty nice paying, but you've got to understand that. And again, this goes back to my motto, my personal motto, that my competition is always working harder than I am. How do I step up my game? Because there are a lot of other people out there who want to do exactly what you want to do, and they're the ones taking the extra class, or have spent more money to get a better demo, or are up at 2 a.m. looking for auditions. Whether they get the job or not, it's pushing through and practicing, and it's not just something that you can walk into. I mean, there was a statistic. I think now again, this is a few years ago, but from the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists here in LA, on average, 7,000 new actors and actresses move here every month.
Wow.
Then they followed up, 7,000 actors and actresses leave every month because they didn't make it as fast as they wanted to. So yeah, I think a lot of people, see, I spent 3 years researching voiceover before I did my first voiceover thing. Because one, I didn't know how to get into it, and two, I didn't know how do I approach it. I mean, I spent right when I moved back from after grad school, I just started buying every voiceover book I could find, just to read about it, to research it. And I would ask other people, have you done voiceover before? And I met there was a guy at the children's theater company I was working at the time. He said, yeah, I did a cartoon a couple of years ago in Dallas. I said, so what was that like? Compared to a guy said, yeah, I did a commercial. I said, well, what was that like? So you have to research and find out and connect with with teachers and people, and you're not just going to dive in. Like one of the things that always scares me, and I see it out here sometimes in LA. People have asked me if I take a class that advertises, you'll have a voice demo at the end of our 6-week session, or you'll have a voice demo at the end of the weekend. That must say, oh, great, I'll have a voice demo and get work. That's like saying I'm going to take a football camp this weekend, and they're going to be NFL talent agents Sunday night watching me. No. That's not going to happen. You have to be good. You have to have a skill level and a talent level, because your competition has a skill level and talent level. Agents don't just sign anybody. Agents sign people that they think will get them, that they can get them to auditions that will book. Because agents, number one, they want to earn money off of you. This is why casting agents, especially out here, a lot of casting notices I don't have access to, because casting agents don't have time to listen to everybody and their mother who thinks they can do a job. That's why we have agents. Agents are the go-between. The casting directors will say, we need a male voice, 35 to 45, who speaks casually. Well, if they were just to post that everywhere, they're going to get thousands of auditions for people who can't do that but think they can. That's why they go to agents who say, okay, I know this person and this person, or like my agent say, I know Kevin can do this. He's done it before. He would be a good person to audition. She didn't sign me because I went in and said, hey, I want to be a voice actor. This is my voice. She saw my resume saying I do theater work. I've educated myself with a BA degree and a master's degree, and I've researched it. And I take classes with people. That's where the professionalism has to come in, and you have to. It's a true commitment. And then there was another guy, a guy named Glenn Morshower, who is another great kind of actor slash inspirational speaker. Acting wise, or acting in general, it's not a sprint. This is the long haul marathon that you commit yourself to. And you're going to have good years and bad years, like 2007 was a great year for me. I did nothing except for 2 months working at the Dallas Theater Center. I did nothing but voiceover, which was great. And that's how I made my living that year. Compared to now, honestly, I have a day job that I have to do to keep money coming in. Obviously I'm in a market now that has a much higher competition level than Texas does or other states do, so it's just much more challenging and a fierce world to get into. But even then, voiceover is even smaller, and that yes, the internet helps, but it's becoming very clogged with people who may not have taken the time to train themselves and get educated and have the skill level, and that just pushes you down farther on the audition list. So there's a lot of elements to it. But if you commit yourself to the art form, in this case voice acting, and being a voice actor, that you put in that commitment to yourself, the success will be there. It may not be that we may have our specific definition of success, whatever that may be, and it may not be exactly where we want, or where we expect, I should say. I mean, I never expected to be here, 12 years later, being able to do an interview with you guys talking about a show that I started out 12 years ago. That's a success level for me, but very unexpected. And so you have to be very open-minded into how you get to where you want.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that the show aired 12 years ago. It in a way, I guess it makes all of us feel older that we remember. remember that specific time period.
Oh, yeah. 2004, my friend.
Yep. The good old Adult Swim days.
Yep. I got cast as Harley in June of 2004. I'll never forget
Wow.
that because I started in May. I did Steve Jacobus, and then I got called in for Bear Player number 2. And that was the day that Mike said, "Hey, I want you to read for something." And the journey began,
The journey began.
Yeah, and again, I'm always super thankful to Mike McFarland, who, and again, that just the universe lined up everything for me. I wanted to be in voiceover, didn't know how I was going to do it, but boy, I was taking steps to figure that out. And then I was in a voiceover class, and 2 seats down from me was Mike McFarland, who heard me talk all morning with different scripts and was so generous to bring me in. And here we are, 12 years later.
Talking about, to me, one of the greatest animes of all time in Case Closed. And,
Yeah.
I'm always back and forth because I'm like any other kid that grew up, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff was a big thing for me. But honestly, this has been a really good show to, just watch and watch and watch, over a long time period, and
Yeah.
it really is awesome. D-Wall, did you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm just
throw in here.
listening in. Man.
Yes, I feel like we're keeping him out of the loop here. Join us, D-Wall.
Like I'm in the same boat as Professor C here. I was kind of, I'm kind of happy in a way that, and kind of humbled in a way actually, that I get to talk to somebody that has worked on the show that I like so much. And I never thought I would. Like, you tell the 12 years ago, the guy that watched it, you tell him, hey, you're going to be talking to this guy that voiced him in 12 years. I'd say, you kidding me? No. He why would he want to talk to me? I'm just this guy that's laying, watching the show 1 a.m. There's no way you're gonna come and tell me that you're gonna actually talk to him. That I'm gonna talk to this guy. But now, 12 years later, I get to talk to him and interact and figure out the experiences that he had working on the show and everything like that. And it's kind of, I don't mean to say this in a bad way. I'm not trying to, but it's like it's kind of humbling in a way that I get to talk to someone who's done this and who's been through that journey.
Oh, thank you.
So it's a great feeling for me. So no,
it's my
it's
pleasure.
fine.
My pleasure. My honor. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to say, do you find that, because I'm looking at your Twitter account right now.
Yeah.
It's listed, obviously, some of the highlights of the big characters you voiced. Does that help when you, like when you're sending out the hashtags, or does that play a factor into it when people look at your page?
Exactly. That's one of the things I learned from this, from the social media for actors is, what are people searching for under the hashtag? And I even found a website called Hashtrax, Hashtrax, where even for this show, when I was going to tweet about being on here, I literally put in Case Closed, and it searches more on Instagram, and I need to start connecting my Instagram with the Twitter, but it pulls up all the people who posted the hashtag Case Closed, and then seeing what other hashtags they use related to the show. And I'm just copying and pasting. I'm totally stealing from everybody else. But knowing that's how, people search. And like on, I think on Instagram, when you start typing in a hashtag, and I had no idea because I never took advantage of them. It tells you if it matches, what I type in matches something and tells me, well, this has been used 3 million times. You better believe I'm going to start using that hashtag. So yeah, it's again this totally goes back, 50%. If not more, about building a brand and how do I reach people and let them know, hey, I'm still out here, or hey, you know what, I'm interested in finding about your video game or your visual novel, or Are you working on an anime as a small studio? I would love to hear about it. I would love to read about it. I'd love to read for it. So it definitely is taking advantage of the hashtags and how to connect with people, and say hi, because again, and this was another thing, Rachel, who again does a ton of video game stuff now, which is amazing to me. But on her webpage, if you look at it, it has not only a link to Twitter, but it shows how many followers she has, which I think is around 21,000 people that follow her. And on a business level, realizing, well, that's free advertising for people for projects that she works on, because you better believe she's going to say, hey, look at this project I did. And that's 20,000 people who are going to say, oh, look what she did. I'm going to, or, a portion of that at least are going to say, hey, she did that. This looks interesting. I'm going to buy that, So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And it's, but again, for me too, it's just being able to connect with people. And I love talking. Obviously, as you can tell from this interview, if you don't shut me up, I'll just keep talking, and who knows what I'll say. But it's, it's connecting to, on a fan level, on a business level, on an acting level. Yeah, totally taking advantage, and then helping other people. Like I'm trying to tweet, about the show and letting people know, hey, I'm going to be on this great show called, From Save Case Close. You should check them out.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, by the way.
I
because
we're
always looking to grow and expand.
Right now,
gotta build that brand.
The Facebook page is like over 2,000 likes, and the Silver Bullet Files channel is growing now. It's up to like 40
that's
subscribers
fantastic.
now, when it was at 20 something last week. So and then the episodes.
That's amazing.
Are growing.
You
like
doubled in a week.
One that was posted is like up to 2,000, and the other one's getting there closer and closer every day. So I think that advertising, that reaching out is really a more helpful thing to get communities going, get more groups like this going.
Oh, absolutely, because it's so easy, because it's just one little click to like something, or it's one little click, say, I'm going to add you because I think you're interesting, or this company is doing some fun stuff that I might buy later on. So yeah, like I said, it really opened my eyes. And once again, Rachel has done an insane amount of research of how each platform, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, works and all that stuff. Very eye-opening, and learning how to take advantage of all that.
Instagram.
So
I have an Instagram.
Highly recommend it as a teacher.
But I think that might help too, like a Instagram.
Yeah, it actually might. I hadn't even thought about Instagram for the page, just to post pictures like we were doing all week. Honestly, I mean,
absolutely,
and say we're almost done, and that gets people excited, because I've seen that from other projects that I do. I've seen where and other things on YouTube that I watch that I'm trying to get into also, where people, all they do is they post they're on their editor or wherever they use to edit, and they say rendering now or editing now, and people they like that stuff. They like that because they're like, oh great, it's almost there, we're almost ready to see this, So I think that's
absolutely
a good idea too.
Yeah, no, Instagram, and too, because you don't have the little 140 character limit on Instagram, you can hashtag the crap out of your stuff. I mean, literally, I'm serious. Go to hashtracks.com and just put in case closed, and you will see that people are hashtagging case closed, Detective Conan, Harley Hartwell, Heiji Hattori, Rachel, and Conan, and every little thing they can do. And because that'll just start reaching out to everybody. And the cool thing, too, about Instagram is, because I'm lazy, is I've connected my Instagram to my Twitter. So when I post on Instagram, it also posts to my Twitter. So two birds with one stone right there. So, yeah, it's an amazing world, let me tell you.
That is awesome. That is...
Yeah.
That is really cool. I'm going to have to look into that, because sometimes, lately, and I've mentioned this all the time I usually have, recently, to do anything, posting wise is posting a picture or posting a comment on a picture, and things like that. So it might be something that I look into for the movement, also for a benefit for me, since I don't have a whole lot of time, but at least I'd be able to stay connected and
Absolutely,
reach
yeah.
as people I can when I
Yeah.
am connected. And it would generate, I think, a lot of followers for sure.
Absolutely. I will totally post on Instagram as well and get the word out about Save Case Closed and
I appreciate that.
hash the heck out of it. Boy, howdy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It's amazing. I mean, she was even getting into talking about what age groups, like Facebook now is, a lot of 18 and unders are no longer using Facebook. I mean, the reports are coming out that they're either just not using it or deleting it. They're going to Instagram. So if you want your followers, of an older age range, you can be doing on Facebook. Instagram, you see a lot of film actors using, Facebook now, and posting there a lot. And then even to when to post, what time of day. So like if I'm on Twitter and I want to, I got to think, well, if most fans are watching this show, they're going to be in the 12 to 17 range. Well, they're going to be in school during the day. So I don't want to post during the day because they're not going to be able to look at their phones during class, or maybe they are. So I'm going to post after school. Or if I want to do more, something along more of a movies thing, I may do that more in the evening when adults are home from work. So it's just even down to that kind of information and research. It's really mind-boggling, but it really is a huge factor too. It's just, I was amazed. I need to do more research into it myself, but yeah, start taking advantage of that. It's free. It's free. And us starving actors like free.
I don't know. Today I've actually got some free time today because I don't leave for my training till tomorrow on my new job. I might actually take some time today and go ahead and maybe make an Instagram account.
Start posting.
It's easy. I mean,
I'm Kevin M.Connolly on Instagram. Follow me and I'll follow you and we'll make some. Put it out there.
It's so much. I think it's easier too on Instagram to follow and like and all that stuff even more than Facebook, especially through the app.
Oh yeah.
It makes it so easy. So I mean, there's no reason why we can't do that. I think that's something we should definitely go to work on.
Take advantage of it. I mean, it's free. That's the big key word right there. Because I think it was amazing, and I hopefully if Rachel listens to this, I hope I get it right. But I think it was last year. She had about 200 followers on Twitter. And then began researching about social media and on all this stuff. And within 6 months or 8 months was up to 21,000. And that's mind-boggling to me.
That is crazy.
Because it's free advertising for your brand. Then it's free advertising, like if I get, when I get, let's say, a visual novel or an independent video game, I can say, hey, I'm going to hashtag this and guess where you can hear me, and then it just spreads out. To all these great people. And I mean, every day I'm looking to see who's following me, and people I don't even know or companies I don't even know. It's like, well, we're going to follow you because you hashtag that you're a voice actor or anime or something, So it's an easy way to connect and then find out who's following you and how to match that demographic, the big business word demographic, you got to follow that.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And, what was I going to say? Oh, my experience with that is that, people already know you're out there, so they might already be looking for you on Instagram anyway. And
Exactly. I mean, I actually went back and I was going to cancel or restart my Instagram. And actually, apparently you can have multiple. I have a friend of mine he's got 3 multiple Instagrams. One's his personal, then one he just takes pictures of all his collectibles, and then one is for his podcast. So but I renamed mine Kevin M.Connolly because before it was just KMC315, which is just my old login I've had for years for tons of stuff that I was able to change to Kevin M.Connolly to make it easier to find. Because again, you don't know who's looking for you. And hopefully you make it as easy as you can. And hopefully I'll see some more people say, oh yeah, I remember you were terrible in that show. Or something. I don't
know. You don't get hate mail like that, I don't think.
I've never, I've actually, I did try to Google one time, I hate Kevin M. Connolly. Thankfully didn't find anything. But, I'm sure that there's somebody out there or people who say, "Oh my God, I wish Kevin Connolly would just stop acting." And it's like, you know what? I'm not going to stop. Just you don't have to watch. That's okay. No skin off my back.
Well, I haven't heard anything about it, so.
Woo!
And,
Good so
you
far.
know, I've encountered so many, fans of all kinds. So if there was
now, I will say real quick, I did a play in college. This just popped in my head because this was the greatest bad review I think I've so far that I've ever gotten. It's a piece called No Exit about these three characters who meet in hell together. And it's a very challenging piece. It was a college summer student production, so student run, student directed, all this fun stuff. And in college, we aren't necessarily the greatest actors in the world. And the reviewer came and said, well, it was interesting, and this person was okay, and they tried to get the script, but the last line of the dialogue, because again, the characters are in a single room together, set in hell. The last line of the review said, so in the end, sometimes you were wondering, were the characters in hell, or was it the audience? And I thought, wow, there you go. I like that. It's a bad review, but I like it. So there we are. I did get that.
I guess it's the wording.
It's absolutely, yeah. You have to love it sometimes.
But, hey, if that's the only bad thing you've gotten in your career,
Knock on wood for now. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
But I really appreciate you coming on today. I mean, it really, coming back for a second interview and
oh, sure. Anytime.
I appreciate that because, when you start putting out some stuff too, I mean, we definitely want to, promote it. And, I am more than happy with you coming on the show to talk about some of your new work as well.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'll call Chris Kazin and find out what that show I was on for Netflix and let you guys know.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't remember what it's called.
I would love to know. And I actually enjoyed Chris Kazin when he was at Funimation. He voiced Tien back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And Tien used to be my favorite character. He was the first version of Tien. So
yeah. Chris is great. I mean, I'm so glad he's out here directing at Bang Zoom now and everything. And he was a lot of fun to work with. Great director, great actor. Yeah.
But yeah, let him know that give him a shout out. Let him know that he's got fans even in the Case Closed community that really appreciate his work. I mean,
absolutely. I will let him know.
Because I absolutely loved his version of Tien back in the day and really appreciated that.